What's up, you amazing people? I hope you're having a fantastic day. You are, of course, watching and listening to the Daily Dirty 30, also known as the DDT, here on The Kevin Lee Show. And I am your host, Kevin Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DDT is all about, let me take a moment to explain. You see, it's a show that airs live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and it's where I get to spend 30 minutes telling you, the viewer, all about the things that bother me today. What do I get out of it? It's easy. It's therapeutic. Why should you tune in? That's even easier. It's entertaining. Sound like a fair trade? Good. Let's get to it. Hello, friends, and happy Friday. Welcome to the Daily Dirty 30 here on The Kevin Lee Show. As always, I am your host, Kevin, and to prove it, my name's down there somewhere right about there. There you go. See? No more proof needed. My name's Kevin. Anyways, tonight is going to be a little bit of a different, special event. I went out on some forums, not necessarily all my forums, but some forums of the my social media all over the place. And I put on there that tonight was going to be a very special episode and that maybe some of you should watch it. The reason for that being is, well, frankly, we need to talk. Don't worry, it's gonna hurt me more than it hurts you. Sorry, things popping up over here. It's gonna hurt me more than it hurts you, most certainly. What is going on? I kind of wrestled a little bit with this, trying to figure out exactly what it is I wanted to talk about, or not what I want to talk about, how I wanted to talk about it. And I think I settled on, to make it simple, I settled on wanting to say I'm sorry. Now, the reason why I'm saying I'm sorry isn't as black and white as you might think. It's not like I actually did anything wrong, other than I basically attempted to bite off more than I could chew, and not in a good way. I don't know if you've watched the broadcast last night or even the last couple broadcasts. Most of them were okay. Some of them were actually even pretty good. But the thing is that I didn't really feel it when I was here yesterday. I was even from the time I hit the live button, something just kind of clicked, and I was a bit distracted. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't feel like what I was putting out there is what I wanted to put out there, and I think that kind of came through on the broadcast. And it made me, to pause. It made me to think and try to figure out exactly what it is that was bothering me about the whole thing. And I kind of figured it out. I should probably give you some backstory on this. So initially, I decided to create not one, but two podcasts and kind of air them during the same week and just kind of both carry them forward, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's not that hard. I do one more serious type podcast, which you may or may not know about, that airs on Saturday afternoons at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And this is a podcast that deals directly with libertarian issues. It's called the Libertarian Hour. How creative, right? But basically, it's just a way for me to kind of get out there and talk about what it means to be a libertarian, because I'm still trying to figure out what it means to be a libertarian. So I'm kind of doing some research and sharing with you what I'm finding, as well as I know there's other libertarians out there who wrestle with certain topics and don't necessarily know what libertarians believe, or even what currently the party might believe in. So I like to kind of talk about some of those issues, as well as you might just be someone who's going to, stumble across this and find it interesting and want to learn maybe more about what being a libertarian is, even if you have no intention of becoming a libertarian, at least to understand what libertarians think. So that was kind of more the serious podcast. This podcast, the Daily Dirty 30, well, that was going to be one that was just going to be silly. I mean, straight up, not necessarily offensive or crude, but moments of being offensive and or crude, most definitely. And initially, when I first started out doing the first broadcast about 5 weeks ago, I kind of had that mindset. And I got on camera and I kind of started realizing something. I didn't necessarily feel comfortable, if you will, sharing my mind, talking about the things I wanted to talk about. Now you might ask yourself, why wouldn't I feel comfortable? It's not that I was nervous per se of what people were going to say or do because of what I said, but at the same time, I had that little voice in the back of my head which made me hesitate from being, authentic and saying certain things I wanted to say. And even the first episode, I kind of felt like I needed a theme for the episode, so I picked on like bad customer service, and I had a couple of issues that I talked about that for bad, customer service, and I maybe even brought up an article or two or something along those lines because it just made me feel more comfortable. But again, the intention of this show is just for me to be able to rant and rage about anything that was bothering me that day, good or bad, or not even bothering me, but just caught my attention, something that made me think, something that made me want to share what I was talking about. Okay. That didn't work out so well. In the extent, like, I didn't want to necessarily talk about certain things or say certain things. I know certain people are going to listen to this, people I know. Some of them I know quite well. Some of them are related to me. So I, wanted to be careful as to what I said. And that was kind of ridiculous. That's not the way you do any type of podcast or show. You shouldn't be nervous saying anything. Now, obviously, you shouldn't say anything that you would regret, obviously. But you shouldn't be afraid to speak your mind. I know we live in the whole cancel culture. I can't say that past cancel culture society right now, and everyone's getting canceled for anything and everything. I get that. I do. It's a sad time to be an American, to be honest with you. But that being said, it is where we're at now. If I'm honest with myself and I'm honest with you, chances are I was a little nervous about that. There's things I want to say, topics I want to bring up. Some you might find interesting, some of you may not. But I was just afraid that if I got on here and just spoke my mind and spoke what I was thinking, things that were really getting under my skin that day or bothering me, or dealing with neighbors or dealing with society in general, I thought maybe some people might take that as either annoying or they might take offense, because let's face it, everyone seems to get offended at everything these days, right? How easy it is to offend somebody. It's really, really, really easy. I come to find out. But again, I was nervous about it. I was hesitant. And that's what I'm apologizing about. I didn't do the show that I wanted to do. I figured I'd pick up a topic and it would make it kind of, easier and helpful to get things going. But then, I had a little feedback from some people who liked that aspect of the show, liked the fact that I was bringing up articles and had, videos to play and the sort. So I continued with it. In fact, I increased it because it seemed like the more I did it, the more people liked it. Okay, great. But it wasn't the show that I wanted. And it's not a bad show. I mean, I can do that show. It'd be a lot easier if I wasn't producing the entire thing and trying to host it simultaneously and switching scenes and graphics and jumping over from, one monitor to the other. And it's kind of a pain, but I could do it, especially if I had help. But that being said, I don't want to do that show. That show is like my Saturday show. My Saturday show is a much more well-produced show where I'm trying to make an argument and I'm stating facts and I'm bringing up articles and websites and videos and audio, and there's nothing, that's the way it should be, right? For that. But this show, the Daily Dirty 30, was designed originally for me to just speak my mind about the things that caught my attention that day. So today, Friday. Not yesterday, Thursday, not tomorrow, not things going around the world that might be happening in a week or a month. That's not what this is about. This is not a news show, nor should it be a news show. This should just be a show about me talking about my mind. Things that are on my mind, things that are on my heart, things that I see throughout the day, and things I want to share with you or share with somebody, and it might as well be you, right? Why not? So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of the point that we're already finding ourselves at now. I've been doing this show for, like I said, 5 weeks, and I've decided that I'm going to change course. I'm going to go, not change course in the sense that I'm going to reinvent the show per se, but I'm going to actually put it back online of where it was supposed to be in the first place. And that is going to be me talking about the things that I noticed, the things that I liked, the things that I disliked, or the things that bothered me today. So that is what is next. Going forward, starting next week, still be airing Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll be doing a half an hour show every single day. We won't be missing out on anything. Trust me. We won't be taking any days off. I won't be redoing anything with the program or the branding or anything of the sort. I'm just simply going to do the show that I was always meant to do and always planning on doing. And again, we're going to have some fun times. Another perfect thing. So just the other day when we had that huge explosion in Beirut, if you saw the show, I did play a lot of videos on it. And because I thought it was very neat. I mean, obviously it was very scary and sad, because obviously people died. Many people got hurt. Many people's lives were turned upside down. They had their homes and businesses destroyed. I mean, it's not a good thing, but it was an interesting thing because now we live in 2020. Everybody has this computer that they carry in their pocket with a usually a very good camera on it. And they all had it out and they were video, recording it because they can't. And they had warning because there was, this small explosion or smallish explosion. Don't even know how big that one was because no one caught that one because no one knew it was happening. But once that happened, people started recording. And then shortly after, the gigantic explosion happened. And you had all these different angles, everything from the water, from the street level, from cars, from buildings, from far away, from very close. And it was interesting to show. I would still maybe show that stuff again. Like if that happened today or Monday, I would have that on the show only because it's that interesting and I want to share it with you. But basically, most of the time, it's going to be just like it is right now. I'm talking to you. I'm in front of a microphone and I'm talking. I've got a simple little graphic down in the corner and I got a simple little title saying, so what is next? That's like literally what the show is going to be like. I'm not going to go crazy with the graphics. I'm not going to go crazy with the supporting material and the videos and the websites. If you want to see that type of show, that's awesome. A ton of people do it, and B, even I do it, but I do it on Saturdays once a week. It's called the Libertarian Hour. Go check it out. And actually, today's Friday, so that means it's tomorrow. It is airing tomorrow in like, I don't even know. How many hours would that be? 12, 15 hours? Yeah, we're going to be airing in 15 hours from now. You can go ahead, hit the little, subscribe and notification bell or on YouTube or wherever you might be. Like it, whatever. And then, you can see it tomorrow and it'll be interesting. Tomorrow, we're actually talking about gun ownership. So that one will be interesting to say the least. It's not just going to be just about the Second Amendment. It's going to be actually about what it means to be an American and what it means to be an American who owns guns and has the right to own guns from a libertarian perspective. I think you can imagine what that's going to be like. So that being said, going forward, the show is not going to change in anything other than how I'm going to actually cover the material I wanted to cover in the first place, just like I am right now. Plus, let's face it, if you are listening to this right now, if you are on a podcast, an audio podcast, that's another thing. What is a podcast? Now, podcasts were audio podcasts only because that's all we had at the time. Now that everyone does these video streams, are these also podcasts? Are these video casts? You tell me. I don't know. I still call them all podcasts. So the podcast will still be available, through iTunes, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any podcasting app you have on your Android, whatever, it's available. So a quick search for the DDT, or not DDT, the Daily Dirty 30. Sorry, that's what I call it, the DDT. Just go ahead, do a quick search for it, for the Daily Dirty 30, and 30 is the number, not spelled out, and you will find it. But if you're listening to a podcast, do you really want to have someone explaining what's on the screen the whole entire time? No, of course you don't. You want to hear someone talking. And even when we're doing a video like this, it's nice to hear someone talking, is it not? Instead of just showing videos the entire time. I know some people like the videos, but they can just go on TikTok or Instagram if all they want to do is see videos, right? Sure. Amen. All right. So we've already spent half the show me kind of explaining and apologizing for everything and setting forth where we're going to be headed. That being said, we're going to, we're just going to go forward. And what that means is we are going to, let me give you an example. I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me today. It was kind of bizarre. I was not like strange bizarre, just bizarre to me. I was going grocery shopping, and it's about the only time I ever wear a mask because I don't really leave the house other than just going outside or taking a walk or doing yard work. If I leave the house, it's going through a drive-through, which I don't typically need a mask, and the only other time I do need a mask is when I go to the grocery store. So I headed out to the grocery store and did my shopping. Everything was fine. A little busier because I went earlier in the day, which is fine. But surprising because I usually go like on a Friday night or something, or Saturday night. And there's literally, I go at 8 o'clock at night. There's like 30 people in a giant store. But when you go on a Friday afternoon, apparently there's hundreds of people in the store. But that's also a good thing because it means there's hundreds of workers helping people and checking people out. So it was a little faster. While I was walking around, I couldn't help but observe people. It's something I do anyways. I mean, I'm a writer, so as a writer, I have a natural tendency to watch people, to look at them, to kind of read how people are living their lives, because you're trying to figure out how to make characters at all times. Even when you're not writing, your brain's always working, trying to figure out, I'm going to do XYZ to develop a new character, male, female, young, old, whatever it might be, in some story you're writing. So since I've been a kid, I mean, I used to literally, and I know it sounds strange, years ago, 20 years ago, I used to get a coffee, go to the mall, sit there in the middle of the mall, sip my coffee, and just watch people all day. Now, some people would say that's creepy, and maybe it is, but I do it for research. And that has never turned off. I've been like that since even more than 20 years. I was in high school. I used to do it. And I've just never been able to turn it off. So when I'm at the grocery store, even though I'm walking around and I'm shopping and I'm looking for things and I'm, checking prices, I'm still constantly watching what's going on around me. And when I do this, I can't help but notice patterns, right? So especially nowadays with the whole COVID-19 and everyone wearing masks and protection and PPE. It's so funny that people know the term PPE. Say it real fast, sounds like you're saying PP, but it's PPE, personal protection equipment. I used to work in a hospital. I used to work in surgery, and I actually was an educator, and I used to have to educate people on PPE, and it's just funny, to be honest with you, to see people, everyday people now talking about it for something I spent a decade doing. It's just funny to me. But anyways, it's not the point. The point is I was watching people doing their shopping, and some people were very good. And so I don't know what it's like where you shop. I shop at a major grocery store in my area, and they're taking precautions, and they're one of those stores that put down little signs on the aisle that say this way only, so to move traffic up and down the aisle so people aren't going both ways or running into each other or getting too close or what have you. It's not really useful in my opinion, but hey, you know what? They're trying, so I'm not going to complain. So I didn't see anybody without a mask. So that's good, I suppose. Of course, I never have at the grocery store. I mean, but that's another thing. Everyone has a mask on, but are they wearing it properly? No, not even close. Most of these people are wearing masks that are, on their chin and barely covering their mouth and not even covering their nose. Or I've seen people who just kind of lift it up and it's not even over their chin, but it's kind of over their mouth and over their nose. It makes no sense to me. I don't know if it's the way it's been where you've been, but it's just, and the funny thing is it's mostly workers. Like I'll see guys in the produce section and you can tell they've probably been working 8 hours already that day and they're tired. But instead of wearing their mask properly, they'll wear it down on their chin just so they can breathe. I mean, could you imagine having to work a shift on your feet all day where it's literally, 7, 8, 9 hours a day wearing a mask? That's insane. I wouldn't wish that upon any. Mind you, I used to have to do that, but I was in surgery. It was a little different of a situation, and even then, it wasn't always for the whole day. Sometimes you'd only have surgery certain times of the day, or you'd have breaks. And but these guys, they just go all day long just wearing a mask. Trust me, I'm sure as soon as they go in the back room, pull it off, sit and talk with their friends and their buddies, and put it back on when they walk on the floor. But it's amazing how everyone just doesn't do proper mask etiquette. Another case, I was checking out, and this woman was in front of me in line. It was her and maybe her sister. It was hard to tell. They seemed close in age. And then a couple more people showed up to their groups. They had been grabbing some things the last second, and they all got in line. And as you know, when you're waiting in line now, you're like 6 feet apart. So especially when you have a shopping cart, it's even longer because you've got a 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 foot shopping cart. So it's really 10 feet apart. But they were on the circle that they were supposed to be in front of me, and I was in the space provided behind. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching them interact. And they just weren't, A, they weren't wearing their mask properly, but B, the one who was, the only one in the group who was, kept taking her fingers and rubbing her eyes. I mean, like digging in there, like you're trying to like pick out an eye booger or something. You know what I mean? Something you would never do with dirty hands. And here's a woman who's at a grocery store. Obviously, most things she's touching are not necessarily contaminated with COVID-19, but just not clean in general, holding a shopping cart. I mean, ew. I mean, yeah, sure, they wipe them off a few times a day. They also have built-in antimicrobial properties to the plastic. I get that, but still, it's not, the one thing to tell you is don't touch your eyes. This woman's digging in her eye. I'm like, oh my God. I wasn't going to say anything to her. She's a grown woman. She can do what she wants. But dear God, like, that's the type of person who gets sick. That's the type of person who is actually the only person in her group actually wearing her mask properly. And she's the one who's going to get sick or get test positive or whatever. Because in their age group, chances are they would only ever be probably asymptomatic because they were anywhere between the ages of 18 and probably 24, 25. So highly unlikely they would either get it. And if they did, they wouldn't have any symptoms because of their age. Which gets me to another, how much time here? Okay, I got a few minutes. So recently we found out, okay, back up a little bit. What happened is earlier, like previously to this week, we had been told that our little ones, our little kids in elementary school were going back to school. And I was happy for that. Not that it messes with our work schedule because I work from home mostly, so I'm here anyways. But for their own mental health and for their well-being, it's good for them to get back with their friends, to get back into school, to start socializing again. So I was happy about that. And that's been the talk, for the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it's been. We've made a decision. We're going back to school. And even then, not everyone's going back to school, just who wanted to go back to school. So it's even going to be a smaller number than normal. And we were all very excited about that. But then very recently, this week, they decided that with the rise in cases, both nationally and even locally in the Chicagoland area, they are going to take a pause on going back to school and everything's going to be virtual. And I got to tell you, that was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had to have with my little ones, is to tell them that they're now not going back to school, in the next couple of weeks. They will in a couple months, maybe, hopefully. But to see their little disappointed faces was ridiculous. And again, I understand people are concerned. I get it. People are worried, but precautions could be taken. There's people who have been going back to school for months all over the world, especially in Europe, especially in Sweden and Finland and New Zealand and Australia. Well, I don't know if Australia did, but many, many areas did. And they've had very, very, very few cases, especially involving children or transmission from children to adult. So again, there's science behind it. There's science there. There's actually 12 studies done on this. And all you have to do is look at the numbers. And they're very promising across the board. I just wish someone would actually bother to do their work instead of have these knee-jerk reactions. Again, if you're an elderly teacher and you want to take extra precaution or maybe teach virtually, I get that. You could be one of the teachers who gets to teach virtually. Makes perfect sense because they're only having like a handful of teachers back. It doesn't make sense why they would pull it last second like that. But hey, to each their own, I suppose. And I understand it's all about legality. We live in a very sue-happy society. I was going to say litigious, but some people don't know what that word is, and they hate when someone talks over your head. But yeah, so people they're very quick. They have their own knee-jerk reactions and suing. So if anyone got sick, I could only imagine them bringing it home or bringing home a virus, even though if the kid's fine, maybe they bring it home to mom and dad if they're older, or grandma and grandpa, or someone who has some type of compromised immune system. So I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But it's disheartening. So yeah, but it was an interesting day. The day's just about done. And actually we're already at over 25 minutes, and there's a couple of quick things I want to go over with. I know the last couple of weeks I did, the words of the week. And on Friday, last week, I think the week before, and people really seemed to like them. So I figured I would at least bring that back today, and we can watch a little or we can look at the words of the week. Again, these are brought to us by Merriam-Webster. I get an email, as many people do, talking about. Now, these aren't just the words of the week. These are the words that were influenced by news, by television, by words used in our world. So they're kind of weird, but they're definitely kind of interesting. So the words of the week, ending today, August 7th. Here we go. So the first one was actually kind of like a compound of dissolve and fraud. And this was in reference to the New York State Attorney General announcing that her office was investigating the National Rifle Association. And it caused spikes in searches for the words dissolve and fraud. Now that's kind of sad, if you ask me, because I mean, I guess if you were kids, maybe there's young kids on their iPhones and their tablets or their Android phones, and they're looking up, on apps or doing, general internet searches, and they don't know what the word dissolve means or fraud. That could be a positive thing. But do you think that's mostly kids looking those up, or do you think it's like adults who don't know what dissolve and fraud mean? I don't know. It's kind of scary. What other kind of words do we have this week? Absentee ballot. It says continued speculation about necessity of having people vote this November in some manner other than in person has focused considerable attention on absentee ballot. So people were looking up what it meant as an absentee ballot. So, and again, if you're either young or you've never done an absentee ballot, you may not even know this thing exists. So, hey, that's good, right? People are learning new things about our government. So, hey, there you go. Positive, right? Keep it positive. Veep. Veep was in the news as well this last week. Yeah. So apparently, well, I don't know if you know. So a Veep, VEEP, is actually a slang term for vice presidents. It's kind of a nickname. But there was actually a television show called Veep that starred Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I never saw it, but I shouldn't say I never saw it. I didn't see very much of it. But when I did, it seemed funny. But apparently people were looking the word Veep. Okay, this is weird and frightening and sad. Apparently another top hit was AK-47. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even hear about this story. Apparently, during this last week, after a man fired a rifle of this variety at police, apparently after being asked to wear a mask in a store. Wow, that seems like someone who is really not. I mean, I love guns. I love the Second Amendment. I love the fact that people have that right. But that guy seems a little unhinged. If he was asked to put a mask on and then responded by firing a rifle at police, that is a poor decision all around. I don't care who you are. I don't care what's going on. That's a poor decision. And apparently Thailand was another popular search. So yeah, there we go. So that would be the words of the week. Now we're just about out of time. We're actually at 29 minutes, but I'm just going to remind everyone two quick things here. First off, if you're ever looking for me or anything about me or the show or how to reach us or find out where any of our stuff is located, including merchandise, or social media, our Twitter, our Facebook, everything can be found on thekevinleeshow.com. That's thekevinleeshow.com. So head right over there, and we have on there, you can listen directly to the podcast, directly from the website. You can watch the replays of the shows or even the live show. There you go. There's me right now being live. And then, again, we have social media, links to everything, anything you'd ever want, and even things you don't want are going to be there. So go ahead and check it out. And last but not least, I want to leave you with a little nugget here. Okay. This is a video I found on TikTok, I believe, on TikTok. And it's kind of cute and kind of frightening all at the same time, but I will let you see it and then we'll say goodnight from there.
Ever feel like you're being watched?
There's a dog standing in the water on two legs and it's walking towards the person. That's creepy. All right, folks. That is it. That is a half an hour. We are done. It's time to move on. Time to say goodnight. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow we do have the Libertarian Hour at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Otherwise, we'll be back here for the Daily Dirty 30 next Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern. So till then, I hope you have a good night. Have a great weekend. If we don't see you tomorrow, we will see you next week. Other than that, have a good one.